The whole mess really began with the clatter of a serving spoon, the kind of small sound that somehow slices through a room already weighted with things no one wants to say. My uncle, self-appointed head of the family, leaned back in his chair like a king surveying a kingdom he didn't even pay for, and announced in that smug, matter-of-fact tone he used whenever he was about to ruin someone's night, "Your cousin Lena? She's meant for the easy life. And you? Well, you were built to keep things running for all of us." He said it like it was a compliment, like he was handing me some sacred duty instead of shackles. My aunt nodded as if she'd rehearsed the gesture, and Lena twirled her bracelet with that practiced innocence she used whenever she benefited from someone else's exhaustion. I didn't shout, didn't slam anything. I just told them, "Good luck covering everything without me," and pushed my chair back, the screech of it making everyone flinch harder than any curse word I could have thrown. They thought I was bluffing, because I always came through, always fixed what they broke. I'd been doing it since I was 14, when my after-school paycheck from the hardware store started vanishing into emergencies that somehow looked a lot like spa days and impulse shopping. By the time I was in college, I was juggling classes, a night shift, and half their monthly expenses. Anytime I tried to set a boundary, I'd get hit with the same guilt-laden line, "Family leans on each other." Except somehow it was only ever my shoulders carrying the weight. The truth finally cracked open during a late winter weekend when I was sorting receipts and statements for them, because of course that job fell on me too. Hidden among the papers was a savings account I didn't recognize, except my name was on it. Alongside my uncle's. The withdrawals weren't mine. The signatures weren't mine. And the money? Years' worth of it, siphoned off like they were taking sips from a well they assumed would never run dry. When I asked my aunt about it, she didn't even blink. "We figured you wouldn't mind," she said, as though my labor and future belonged to them by default. Something inside me went quiet in a way that felt dangerous, like the settling before an earthquake. I didn't confront them again, I simply rerouted everything. Closed accounts. Opened new ones. Shut off every bill autopay they'd buried under my name. Let reality catch up to them. When the water got shut off, my uncle called, trying to sound calm, asking me to fix it real quick. I told him he'd need to handle it himself and ended the call. The house they lived in? That had been under my credit, too, every signature, every receipt stored neatly in a folder that proved ownership. So I sold it, cleanly and legally. They learned about it when the buyers arrived with a moving truck. After months of fallout, they ended up in a cramped apartment an hour outside town, pretending online that it was a temporary downgrade. I knew better. The shift was permanent. And still, I wasn't done reclaiming myself. The next year, I showed up at the holiday dinner, uninvited, carrying the kind of calm that comes from finally understanding you don't owe people access to you just because you share DNA. My uncle looked smaller, my aunt quieter, and Lena couldn't even lift her eyes. He tried to taunt me with some half-hearted, "So you think you came out on top?" But I just told him, "I stopped playing the part you wrote for me." Then Lena's phone chimed, and her face drained. She'd tried to open another line of credit using my information weeks earlier, assuming I wouldn't catch on. But this time I'd reported it, and the investigation had landed. Her accounts were frozen, and suddenly the whole table erupted, voices rising, accusations flying, tears and outrage mixing into the chaos I used to absorb like a sponge. I just kept eating, steady and unbothered, because for once the consequences weren't mine to carry. When I stood to leave, my uncle murmured, "You're not the same." And he was right. I wasn't. I wasn't angry, just done. Finished apologizing for being someone who didn't fit their expectations. Walking out didn't feel like leaving their home, it felt like stepping into mine for the first time. And now, when people ask what family means to me, I tell them this: sometimes the people who share your blood are the very ones you have to free yourself from. Sometimes the cleanest cut isn't the one on the holiday roast, it's the one that severs you from a story you never agreed to play the villain in, so you can finally write your own ending.